Welcome to Peaceful Zen Talks. Today we have Grace here, and we're going to chat a lot with her in regards to just her life and her journey, whether it's family or the dating world. And we're really excited to have you here, Grace. Would you like to share your journey and start off?
Yes, Thank you for inviting me. This
Yeah.
is exciting, and I'm happy to come and see you and just talk. Women talk and explore and share different life experiences and journeys. And I know lately it's been a journey for myself, just in different aspects of my personal life, family, career, and mental health. It's just there's so many different aspects of it that come together.
Yeah.
And it's a lot.
Yeah, no, it is a lot. I'm just going to dive right in. I guess let's start off with the dating life. Dating in your 30s, right? I feel like that's the hot topic nowadays. So, do you have any? Tell me about your dating life.
It's out there. It's a lot of dating. I don't say a lot. I think there's such a big cliche saying, oh, in your 30s it gets harder and the older you get, and maybe there's a little bit of more complexity.
Right.
But once you know what you're looking for, what you're after, what you want, it's easier to narrow
absolutely
your options and date more qualifying prospects.
Right. Right.
So it's been interesting. I've gone on several dates these last couple years, which is a great experience because you learn a lot from it. Not that I wasn't dating prior to it, but I think in your 20s, you're not as serious. And I guess some people may call it more casual dating,
right,
or for fun.
Yeah.
Now that I'm older, I am looking for something more serious. And I hate to throw the word serious because a lot of people might confuse that word or misinterpret that word and or put a negative tone to it. But just something more settling, more I guess me wanting a family, me wanting actual marriage, me wanting a partner in my life to share with.
And it's great that you're putting it in those terms, where you really know exactly what you want. And I think that's the beauty behind dating when you're in your 30s, because when you do know what you want and hey, I'm not settling for less, this is what I deserve, and this is who I am as a person, where that self-discovery has already taken place, it's important to recognize that and be able to get rid of the people that don't really matter, or people that are wasting your time. I think it's probably way faster for you to even recognize that now.
Yeah, it is. Oh, it absolutely is. And also it's sometimes a challenge because there's going to be people that can trigger you or can remind you of old wounds. And I have a very specific scenario where I met this one guy and I found him very attractive, and I was I guess that's where I infatuated with him. And we talked for a very long time, and it went nowhere. And you would think, oh,
I think everyone has that story where
wasted my time, but I don't necessarily feel like I've wasted my time because it's not like I was spending quality time with him.
Right.
And I'm and I would always ask myself, what am I doing? We talking to each other, but there's nothing heading anywhere here.
Right. And
I was I know I'm wasting my time. And even though I'm easy to eliminate all these other men that I'm dating, like this one particular was taking me a little longer, and I'm it's a learning experience.
It is a learning experience. And I think sometimes we do have that hope, a little bit of this hope lingering where, maybe this person might turn around, or we have certain expectations where we feel we obviously as human beings we want the other person to reciprocate as we would want them to, and then if they don't, that's kind of a sad part on us, because then we start feeling down about ourselves, like, oh, what's wrong with me, or like, why isn't this person, or at least this person showed interest in the beginning and now they're not showing interest anymore, they're not messaging me back. And I think every single one of us goes through something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think overall, like you have to be very confident and also healthy mentally, emotionally, to know there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with me. It's not that he doesn't like me. It's not. He's just not ready for something or what I'm looking for.
That, and again, that's also one of those things where sometimes like we know what we want and the other person's confused or doesn't. Their mind is not stable, and sometimes they just don't know what they want, and unfortunately, then it's not going to work out.
Yeah. So, and that's when you kind of have to really be honest with yourself and give that time period, like and things like when you need to not waste so much effort or time, or and don't limit yourself, like it's already hard as it is, and there's this whole like, you know, online dating and talking to multiple people, which has been a challenge for me, because it's like, how do you talk to so many people all at once? Like, how are you supposed to establish a connection with them?
And I think it's so easy nowadays. Sorry, but I was saying it's so easy nowadays, especially when it comes to online dating. You're just constantly swiping left and right.
Yeah.
You're not really focused on one person, whereas traditionally, at least like when you meet someone in person, it's just that one person that you're meeting, so you can like really like establish a connection with them.
Right.
And nowadays it's just like, oh, who's the next hottest person? Like who? Like, oh, now
there's
who's the next?
Lot of options.
Exactly.
So you have to go through so many at times, and it feels draining.
It's draining.
It's okay to take a break, and I think I was having a harder time at the beginning, because I was just like, as most women, like, we get emotionally attached. You're like, oh, I like him, he's sweet, he's nice, and then it's like, boom, he's not following back. Like, oh shoot, like, what happened? And then you start
like,
feeling
my
bad.
Like, why did I even invest my time and waste my time on this
and then
person?
It's like, so now it takes practice. Like, I, you know, thanks to therapy and just, you know, self-work and healing, like, it takes time, it takes practice. And if you feel down, or you're like, I can't do this, or I don't, just take a breather, take a minute, take some time off, and just get back out there again.
Yeah. Spiritually, do you think that, like, do you believe in like what's meant to be will find you?
I do. I do too. Yes. I think to a certain extent I am very spiritually myself, and I think what's meant for you will be. I also think as a person, as a human being, there's a choice, and you also need to maybe do a little work yourself. Like, do I expect it's gonna come knocking at my door?
Right.
No.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that, because just earlier I was watching this Instagram reel where this girl was talking about how, ladies, if you want the right man, you're not going to find him by sitting down and watching Netflix at home by yourself. Like, you need to get out. You need to be able to, like, you know, just go out with your friends. And even if it's going to Barnes and Noble to, like, just go read a book, just go to a cafe.
Just get out.
That's how you connect with people.
Yes, absolutely. And I think I've been a little antisocial prior to COVID myself, where these last couple years have been such a learning experience too, because I was like really putting effort with myself to be more open, more social, making more effort to go out with friends, and nothing wild, nothing like bars and clubs. No,
right.
Out, dinners, social gatherings.
And that's nice, because I feel like that's when you meet, like, I feel like that's a good way to connect with people, whether you know, or even just make friends. Like, it's a great way to, like, just bond with people, and you're not necessarily going to meet the right crowd during a bar and like a clubbing scene, because people are going to be very tipsy or whatever it might be.
Yeah, most likely not. I mean, I know back then maybe that was the way to go, but there's so many options. And then you have to do what makes you happy. Go do what you enjoy. If it's going running, like,
Right.
It's funny because like I did salsa in my 20s.
Oh, cool.
So for a couple years. And
Yeah.
I have friends now saying, oh, you know, just go salsa dancing. You'll, I was like, you know, and that's when it kind of gets back to like, if it's meant to be, it'll be. I was like, I did salsa dancing for a couple years and I met nobody. So it's probably just not my timing yet.
Yeah. And I love that you say that because I feel like timing is everything in life. And sometimes you might not realize it, but there might still be some work that you still have to do. And I hate to put it this way, sometimes you just have to go through certain heartbreaks in order to come across that right person as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think mistakes or not making the best choices at times, you learn from it, and you need those experiences to learn and grow from it, and I guess be more appreciated of what you go after and grow. Because if things were easy for you, I think most people wouldn't appreciate it.
I agree. Yeah. Do you think that men usually go for independent women?
Depends the kind of man.
Right. It depends on.
With dating, I feel like I've come across some men that they say they like independent women. It's the total opposite. Or men that prey on vulnerable women that, you know, are not put together or weak-minded in some way. Because I feel like that's what happened with my experience in my last relationship of me during COVID, like me being depressed and not even realizing I was depressed, and then coming across somebody that literally took advantage of me in every way possible. And
sorry about that. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I feel like sometimes we go through life and like we don't realize that we're weak until later on, and then we realize like, okay, you know what, like what just happened? Like, why did I even waste my time with this person?
And so there's moments of weakness where you know, I hate that word narcissist, but you know, because I feel in social media I hear a lot being thrown everywhere. He's a narcissist, she's a narcissist. I mean, I think maybe
everyone
we
has
all
a little
have
bit of
a little narcissism in it. It's just very unhealthy, damaged individuals that it's like you can see their pain, and you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, not that you don't want to be there for that person, but they could be damaging you
exactly also. Yeah
And at some point you need to realize this is not healthy.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And I think it's important to understand that, first of all, everyone has to be there for themselves first. Absolutely. And, you know, if you are not able to be there for yourself and you're constantly helping another person with every decision or so emotionally, and you're their therapist all the time, that can also be draining. So it's like two people coming together I always use this analogy where it's like two people are in a separate bubble, and then when they come together, they're in this one bubble together, but they still have their separate bubble. So it's like they still love themselves and they still love each other, but at the same time, it's like they are ready to be in a healthy relationship. And ready can be, I mean, ready doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect. It's never perfect. But at the end of the day, you learn together, you thrive together, you're able to communicate and, like, you know, learn through like the healthy and the unhealthy habits and everything.
Yeah, and I think that's a beautiful journey because there's always so much to learn from yourself and moving forward with a partner. Right. Like who you is it? I love this phrase because who you are not now, you weren't 10 years ago, and who you're gonna be in the next 10 years. You're not going to be who you are right now. Yeah. And maybe there'll be some similarities, but there'll be growth. Right.
There will definitely be growth. And I mean, character usually stays the same, who you are as a person. I mean, it can change too, like drastic changes, but I think like who you are in your core stays the same. However, there's a lot of growth that takes place through experiences.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's a beautiful thing, as you mentioned. But when it comes to the dating world, what advice do you have any advice for, I guess, people who are on the dating apps or they're meeting people?
Yeah, I think my best advice would be take your time.
Take
your time. Don't rush things. It's okay if you're talking to multiple people, because most likely that person is too.
Right. Of course, yeah.
And just be very open-minded about it and just honest with each other. And sure, there'll be some that are not, but you'll eventually see it.
Right.
And don't shelter away from it, and ask questions. Questions. Pay attention to their actions, because actions speak louder than words. It's not, a lot of these men like to say sweet things, you're this, you're that, and not follow through.
Yeah.
So, they could be saying the same thing to everybody else.
Of course. Yeah.
and
copy and paste.
Yeah. And like, what woman doesn't like to be flattered and be called beautiful? But it's like, okay, thank you. But then like, is he spending time? Is he trying to plan things with you?
Is he driving out to see you? Yeah.
And is he being open and genuine? And also back when they're open and genuine, like, listen to your body. Listen to your body when you meet them in person and how you react.
That's a really good point. I feel like your body will tell you. I think your body speaks volumes, like where if you're able to really like dig deep and like figure out, okay, you know what, I don't feel safe right now, or I feel very uncomfortable, I want to run, I want to go home.
No, seriously, like it does. And so that's been the learning experience for myself, because I've always been so in tune with my mind and logic of like, oh, well, he did this, and like pointing out the pros and cons, but not paying attention to, well, how was I feeling at that exact moment?
Yeah.
And I think, again, it takes practice. Just you have to really be more aware of it, put that awareness within yourself, and like, and really listening to it, because like, I know it can be confusing. For example, I had a scenario where I went out. I was meeting a guy on a first date, and prior to the date, I was so anxious. And I was like, do I have butterflies, or am I anxious?
Yeah. Like, what is this feeling that I'm feeling? Yeah.
On a whole other level of anxiousness.
And your body was reacting to, like, already reacting before even meeting
him.
Yeah.
And I was like, why? How? Like, I haven't even physically met him.
Right.
And this was the same person that it went nowhere.
Yeah.
In person, like, he was very charming.
Yeah.
Very luring, very, like, but, women can, like, get lost in that, and in the end, it goes nowhere.
Yeah, and it goes nowhere. I agree. So what kind of partner do you think, I mean, I know everyone has their own choice and, like, preferences, but what do you think, I would say 3 main qualities that anyone should look for in a partner?
3 main qualities. Well, I feel like I'm a little bit reflecting myself in this, because with speaking, doing therapy work for a while now, and we want certain things, and then we need certain things.
Wow, that's a good point.
So I remember my therapist telling me, what do you want?
Yeah.
And what do you need?
Right.
And based on your patterns, what has failed you and that you need most. And I think, so everybody's different.
Yeah.
I think this is a more personal self-awareness of oneself.
Right.
But I think overall, like, number 1, I think, would be having that emotional safety. That emotional security, safety, to feel safe with that person.
Right.
To be able to be vulnerable with that person, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Because, that really is the key foundation to something good. Yeah. Something great.
Definitely.
I mean, people like to focus on the physical, but, that's important to a certain extent, but looks fade.
Yeah.
You know, that there's physical intimacy and there's emotional intimacy.
Right.
And I think people have a hard time exploring that or confusing that or choosing the physical over the emotional.
Yeah.
And until you really know what that is, like, you can tell the difference.
I agree. I think that's the key to any healthy relationship, where you're able to be vulnerable with one another and you can like really have that emotional security to be able to confide in that person and share your deepest, darkest secrets and know that they're not going to judge you.
Yeah. And it takes, you know, it takes work. It takes to be very secure and honest with yourself to open up and be that comfortable. And sometimes it comes from naturally with specific people.
Oh, definitely.
Because maybe they're vulnerable too.
Yeah.
And it's a little easier, and that's great.
Yeah, and that is great. I agree. I think it's like read the room, kind of like when you're with the right person, you will be able to like emotionally, you won't feel like, oh, am I sharing too much, or you know, am I sharing too less? You'll just let it be, and you'll just be yourself.
It'll feel very natural, and you're like, oh wow, did I just tell him my whole story?
Right.
Or half of it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that's like the story of my life.
But definitely emotional security,
emotional security,
and safety, secure safety.
Yeah.
And I think also alignment with your goals.
Alignment with your goals. That's number 2, right?
Yes.
Emotional security is number 1. Number 2 is alignment with your goals. Got it.
Goals with like what you, I don't want to say what you want, but what you want. Like, if, let's say, for example, for me, like, I know I want to have kids.
Right.
Do not waste your time on someone that's already telling you up front.
Yeah,
I don't want
to have
kids.
And don't think that you can change the person. Yeah.
Don't even try.
Right.
Yes, some people might change their mind, but there's a big risk there that they may not.
Exactly. Like, listen to what people are saying.
Yes, people tell you who they are up front when you first meet them, and believe them.
Yeah.
If they say, oh, I don't want this, or I'm this way, or I've always, believe them.
Yeah.
You're not a therapist to try to change them or hoping or waiting around to change them.
That's a really, I agree.
Definitely your alignment with your goals of life-term goals that you want with them.
Yeah.
Or what you want with a partner. And I hate to say it, but I guess financial security, like,
that's number 3.
That's number 3. I'm not saying go for someone that makes 6 figures,
right?
But have some understanding that they have a decent job, or they're gonna be able to provide to a certain extent. And I get it. Roles right now are flipping, where women are a little bit more financially settled or stable than men, and if women are okay with being the provider financially, but having that understanding with that person that they're gonna contribute and be supportive of it too.
Yeah.
I would want someone to make more than me, but based on my career, like, I don't know if that's gonna be realistic.
Right.
And I can lose the opportunity with somebody great, but that's not financially there yet.
I think ultimately, like, being with someone who you know is a hardworking person, because money, I feel like, will come, but if like they are intelligent and they are able to take care of themselves, and then they have, as you mentioned, plans, future goals and aspirations, and I think you'll just see that, like, money won't even be a topic then. You'll have an idea when you meet the person, like, okay, this person is very driven, similar to me, and I see that this person takes care of himself, and you see that through, like, hanging out with the person a little bit more, then giving them a few more chances, and then you realize, like, okay, you know what, this person is the right fit for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I know you said 3. Can I add a 4th one?
Yeah, sure. Add a 4th one. Yeah.
I think I would say personal core lifestyle. I think, and I'm not referring to, if you're getting your hair or nails. I'm referring more to, like, health lifestyle. If you live a healthy lifestyle with, like, nutrition
Yeah.
and physical activity,
Right.
and somebody that's the total opposite,
Yeah.
there's going to be clash.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I think I agree with that. I think it's like, in the beginning, it might be exciting just to date someone who's different, but eventually, if, you are really focused on your nutrition and you like eating healthy on a day-to-day basis, and then the person that you're with is constantly eating junk food, that's going to come in between you guys, because you're going to be frustrated, because again, people rub off on each other, and
They do.
and you get influence, and because of that, I think that will definitely affect your relationship in the long run, unless like the person who is eating junk food is willing to understand that, hey, you know what, I need to also focus on my health and be like my partner. And people don't change again. So
they have to change for themselves. And
I would like to know, did your parents, your mom didn't want you to move out, and the reasoning behind it?
Well, my parents aren't very good at communicating or expressing how they feel. Like, they rather show an anger or an emotion and be like, oh, because I said so, or
there's no reason
you don't
behind
understand.
It. Yeah.
Like, communication was, till this day, is very difficult for them. I think because they don't know. They
don't know any better. Yeah.
That way. And at some point you become the person to change those cycles.
Absolutely.
Be better.
Yeah.
And something I had to learn myself, and to like let this anger go also, because I had so much anger towards my father growing up, and a little bit was like mixed with emotions and feelings for my mother. But then I'm like, you know what, their problems are their problems.
Yeah.
And that's when I was a young adult that I had to tell my mom, like, you cannot be telling me problems that's going on between you and my dad.
Yeah.
Because that's still my dad.
Of course, you still have that love for him, and it's not fair for you.
And it's causing me conflict, kind of disliking him or hating him. But then you get upset when I get in a fight with him, because you want to pretend to have this happily ever after family, and it's not.
Right.
And I think, I know she wanted somebody to be there for, but it's not your children. It's not your children. You can never put your children in the middle of these situations.
No, absolutely not. I think it's important for them to have their own outlet, whether it's their best friend or therapy. But unfortunately, a lot of families are against therapy, like culturally as well. So I think there has to be someone other than their own kids for them to be able to have a discussion about whatever they might be going through in their marriage.
Absolutely.
And I think we have to love them. At the end of the day, they have their own struggles and their own flaws. And we have to recognize that and understand that, okay, as you mentioned, sometimes getting angry and getting frustrated, that's never going to help the situation. If anything, it only makes the situation worse. So how can we channel ourselves, or how can we channel ourselves to be able to think a little bit more positive when it comes to them and the good qualities that they have? It's hard because, we see what we see, and then we just kind of go down this downward spiral thinking that, they did this or they hurt me in this way. But at the same time, I think always reminding ourselves that they also are going to make mistakes. And just because we're younger than them, that doesn't mean that they know any better.
Absolutely. And, parents make mistakes. They're humans. And, at some point you have to gain that awareness and maturity to know, like, for example, for myself, I'm like, they raised me to the best of their knowledge.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm an adult.
Successful adult.
Get to choose make my own choices now, and take responsibility for my actions.
I think, you can recognize certain things, or certain flaws that you might have, or similar traits, which, everyone does to a certain extent. But at the same time, also knowing that, okay, you know what, this is not right. I'm behaving this way. Hey, maybe my dad behaves this way. I shouldn't. For example, my dad loves to talk, and sometimes he talks over people, right? And I used to have this habit of doing that when I was younger as well, because I grew up seeing that, and then eventually I realized I'm like, that's not how I want to be, or that's not how I want to show up.
You got awareness, and you're like, oh my God, I'm doing the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. So simple. I mean, it's not a big deal, but small things like that, I think, are very important to recognize and know that, okay, you know what, like, this is where their weaknesses are, and I don't want to be that same person.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of it helps when you move out that household, because then you start having that clarity for yourself.
Yes.
That mental peace of of mind.
Yeah.
Which I had been thriving for a while, where like I need to be on my own space. I can't, my parents would have loved for me to stay at home for as long as forever. And I'm like, no.
Same.
I was like, I just need to leave because I need some silence. I need to hear my own thoughts.
Yeah, definitely. And to be able to make decisions independently rather than constantly having parents make decisions for you, right? When you're living with them.
Well, I mean, I was already pretty much independent at home. Like, they weren't making any of my decisions for me. But the fact that it was interfering with some of my decision making, because one, I wasn't so focused on dating to begin with. I was so like career orientedly focused, and my goal is to be like financially stable or independent and just leave.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Like, dating seriously was not even like, I was like, I don't even have the mentality for it.
Yeah.
Probably had time, but I was like, I don't have the mental time or space for it. And there's also this stigma too, because you're from a cultural family, you're like, oh, you're 30 and you're still single and not married. It was like, well, yeah, I don't have the time, mental space to focus on that, because I'm so distracted with all these other things. And I'm trying to figure out what I want, and I need to be in that space of myself to really understand and know what I want.
And I think, like, as you mentioned, like, moving out, it really allows you to be by yourself and reflect.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was already doing so much work, but like, I was sad, but I was happy.
Yeah. No, I get it. Absolutely.
And it's not like I left very far.
I think that was me during the pandemic, living by myself, and I was just kind of like, wait, like, you go through moments where you're feeling really lonely, but at the same time, also within that loneliness, you discover yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's okay. I think one of the best parts is like, everyone healthy, at least mentally and spiritually, should be comfortable being alone.
Yeah.
Like, if you cannot sit in a silent room by yourself, there's a problem.
Yeah. I think, like, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I'm thinking, like, when I am usually alone, and I know this is not healthy, I'll be on my phone, or I'll be on my laptop, whether it's working or chatting with friends or whatever it might be. I did recognize that during the pandemic, I told myself, okay, you know what, I just need to, like, relax, and, like, can I do nothing by myself? Meaning, like, no TV, like, no technology, and just sit down and enjoy, like, a cup of tea and just relax. Yeah. And to be honest, yes, I can do that, but I don't think I do that as often as I should. And I think it's because of because of having technology around us and, like, always being on the go.
I mean, yeah, that could be definitely a big part of it. But I think once you have that awareness, like, you know, okay, disconnect. And technology has its pros and cons too, because like, just like my phone, I can put it on mute for certain time frames. So for example, for Instagram, my notifications are on mute the whole day.
Same. I don't even, unless I go on the app myself.
Exactly. And then I have a sleep mode where it blocks, it doesn't block, but it mutes my all notifications from like 10 p.m. to like 7 or 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it helps also meditating. I don't know if you meditate, but I meditate. I try to be more consistent on a daily. Right now, more like every other day and weekly. But just meditating, being in that quietness with yourself, with your thoughts, and breath work exercises. So like I know I get anxious, and some people may think, oh, how? No, I mean, oh, I get anxious. It just shows in different ways for everybody. Sometimes there's the calm anxiousness, and you don't even realize that they're anxious because they're just quiet or calm, but their mind is going wild. And sometimes I think I'm more like that.
Right, right.
So I know I need to calm down my nervous system by doing the breath work exercises, meditating, and just healthy lifestyles, you know, my therapy and working out and what you eat. Like your body's a temple, so unless you understand your way of how you are, how you react, like once you can regulate that and control that, like you're just at peace.
Yeah.
And you're just a healthier, happy person. And then everything around starts falling into place, and you start attracting great people. You start attracting great acquaintances and contacts and just people you want to be around with.
I agree. It's so important to treat our body well. As you mentioned, our bodies are a temple. And I think, like, especially in our 30s, we realize that a lot more than in our 20s. And I'm realizing that so much more now, where I'm like, okay, you know what, like, eat all my vegetables, have some more fruits, and I still want to indulge here and there on the weekends, but then, like, you know, just making sure that you do get to enjoy your life, but at the same time you also get your workout in. For me, it's hot yoga. That's very therapeutic to me, and to me that's meditative as well. So that's something that I do like a few times a week, and I really enjoy it. And if I miss certain days, then I don't feel like myself, because I'm like, man, that's when I'm in my element, when I'm hiking or doing yoga. But I would like to definitely get into meditation, how you mentioned, like just quiet space and just be able to relax and meditate. I do listen to meditation music at night before sleeping always. I'm not necessarily meditating, but I am definitely calm. So I think there's different ways how people...
It's very similar. I think I could probably consider that meditating.
Yeah, but not like where my mind is completely off. I think I'm still thinking about things.
Okay.
But ideally, I would like to get to a point where I'm not thinking about anything, and I have that 10 minutes of like nothing.
I mean, it takes time. It takes work. I mean, there's times where I know I've fallen asleep and I was like, oh wait, I was meditating, or was I just that tired?
Do you think that therapy has been beneficial for you in your life?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Like half my life at this point.
Wow, yeah. But do you think, like, is anyone younger watching this, or even older, doesn't matter, any age, if they have not sought therapy, do you think it's a good recommendation for them to like seek help or support?
Absolutely. I think if not all or most people need therapy, I think we all have something to discover and work on. I know many of us, including myself, have a lot of childhood trauma. And some might have, the perfect childhood and life.
I think no one's life is perfect, but I agree. I understand. Yeah.
But it doesn't hurt to speak to a therapist, especially if you think you need to. And if you're opposed to it, I would advise be open-minded, because if you're still repeating the same cycle, maybe you need some direction.
Right. That's a really good point. And then do you think that, so I've heard like a few of my friends talk about therapy, and they did mention how it's a weekly thing. And, whether it's a weekly thing or like every other day or whatever it might be, everyone's situation is different. So do you think that therapy can become an addiction, kind of like where you constantly have to like seek support rather than handling it yourself?
I think it can be a little addicting. That's if you've been on it for a while. I mean, it varies. I think you have to slowly maybe start cutting down. For example, like when I went back to therapy, I was going through a traumatic situation. So I was seeing my therapist once a week.
Right.
And then after a couple months, I was like, okay, we need to cut down to every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of started cutting down to like once a month. And then, but realistically, you know, right now it's more to be back to like 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, you need to know when to stop and take responsibility in yourself to handle those situations on your own. Like, therapy is there to help discover your situations and yourself and better handle certain situations.
Right. Before we end our conversation, is there any advice that you would like to share with anyone watching? You know, the things that you might have learned through therapy or your experiences in life.
Yeah, I think advice in therapy, I would say be open-minded. If you have a hard time just opening up, find that source of therapy. If it's not speaking to a therapist, maybe journaling,
Right.
meditating, or finding some guidance into like breathwork exercises. But finding that one thing that is therapeutic, it's already a start to therapy, to a sort of therapy at least.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's why some people like enjoy when, you know, like my mom loves to pray. Like every morning and evening she prays and meditates, and that's her way of, I guess she's not going through therapy, but that's her way of, that's very therapeutic for her.
Yeah.
So everyone has their own thing, but at the same time, I think like seeking support when you really do need it, you should be open-minded. And I think it could be challenging sometimes, especially culturally, when you're raised a certain way, to like not seek support and be able to like just figure things out yourself and be independent. And it's like, no, we all need to be able to vent out or be able to share our thoughts, our desires, or whatever it might be to at least one person to just vent out.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Grace. I feel like it was so nice to have you here and just talk about so many different topics and just have a great discussion.
Yeah,
it was
thank
very,
you.
very meaningful, and I'm sure whoever's listening is going to take a lot away from it.
Yeah, I hope so. And I mean, there's a lot out there to discover for oneself, but you just have to get out there and explore.
Definitely. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.